All right, listeners, we got something special. But before we get into something special and the someone that is special, that y'all that are not on YouTube, y'all don't see, but those who are, you can see who it is. But before I do that, of course, I have to give our introduction. Welcome to Good Earners, reviewing The Sopranos. And here on Good Earners, we like to talk about family, finessing, finances, and feelings in the world of Tony Soprano, bringing you a new perspective, a fly perspective, and a black perspective. I'm not alone. I have my two capos here, Spike Lou and Big Rich Town. But even more so than that, we have a special guest. Y'all may know him from this show that we review. Came in as Gino, then was back as Vito. He's been in over, and correct me if I'm incorrect, Joseph, but he's been over 20 films, 5 television spots, some voice acting with a video game, and not to mention a self-taught chef. Did I miss anything?
That's probably it. 20 of those films, I mean, maybe 17 people never saw. But that's okay. I mean, it runs the gamut of independence and I don't know what. But there was a couple of major films. It is what it is. We'll get into it as we talk. I'm sure, hopefully I'll enlighten you on my story is pretty unique on the show. And I'll tell you about that and any other questions that may have. The time will fly by. I'm in no rush. I don't have anything planned, so we'll just see where it goes. How's that?
That's a perfect guess. That's great. Well, here I'll start here then. I think I've watched your Instagram and I've seen you a few times, and I see that you have a real passion for cooking. Was there ever a decision that you went back and forth about between acting and being like a professional chef in the early days?
I think that. Hold on. Do you need that water running?
You good? We love the authenticity.
Yeah, all of it.
We love the authenticity.
Yeah.
Never does the dishes, and all of a sudden now she's doing them. All right, take it easy. So you want to say hello? Say hello. I don't know if they can see you.
Yeah, it's a blurred background, but hello to him.
Oh, you got a blurred background? Look at him.
Hello.
Is that still blurry?
Oh, there we
go.
go.
We can see you. How are you doing?
How are you doing?
Hi. Yeah, it's a radio show. See the radio? It's a podcast.
Oh, a podcast.
Oh man,
said she's a comedian. She's very funny. Yeah, she was kidding.
So, but was that ever back and forth? Oh yeah.
I like cooking because it's creative. The day-to-day of being in a restaurant and it is drudgery. But when you do specials and you create and you just think things up, that's the fun part of it. My cooking background was actually French. I'm self-taught. I lived in New Orleans for a couple of years when I was young because I wanted to learn that. And I wanted to learn my repertoire. I wanted to broaden it, and of course, Italian,
Mm-hmm.
I knew. So that's what I did.
Okay.
So I have still passionate about the cooking, and I like acting. I mean, it's a fun way to make a living, but in reality, it's really the two worst businesses to be in. Restaurants and acting.
That's the real.
Fair enough. I've heard that before.
Why so for acting?
What's that?
Why so? Why is acting? Why do you compare it to restaurant?
Well, no, because restaurants. I mean, why is it the worst business to be in? You're working on holidays. You're working on Fridays and Saturdays. You're working where everybody else is enjoying themselves and having fun. It's tough. There's always a problem. It's raining. It's snowing. The dishwasher didn't show up. The dishwasher's broke. This delivery didn't come in. This is expensive. There's a million things that go on and why it's slow and so on and so forth. Acting, you know, I don't know, 3% of actors work and the other ones are all not working. Um, trying to get, roles, auditions. So, they're both tough businesses, in different ways, but they're both tough. And that's why I say that they're the two worst businesses to be in.
That makes sense. I've heard that before. I know a lot of people who love acting. They look at the A-list movie stars, but they forget that there are actors. The depth of actors in the industry is almost infinite. And we always think about the big stars, but don't think about the people. A lot of people use the term "that guy." You know what I mean? The guys you recognize, but don't necessarily know their name, but you've seen them in something, or I'm sure you probably get that. Well, probably not with this show. Sopranos fans will recognize you instantly, but there might be other things, Mickey Blue Eyes or something like that, where people say, I think I know you from that one thing. I want to ask you, and I would love to Mo to kind of lead us into how we got here, but obviously we pour all of our passion into the Sopranos and the work that you've been a part of. I want to just ask you, do you ever stop and pinch yourself and realize that you've been a part of something, what some people call the best show of all time, something that revolutionized television, something that way after any of us here are gone is still going to be remembered, played, mentioned? It's just a huge deal. Do you ever stop and say, hey, I was a part of that and I'm just fortunate enough to have that legacy, or how do you look at it?
Kieran, all right, let me tell you something. So you mentioned that I was Gino, right, in the bakery, and they brought me back as Vito. And maybe we'll get into this later, how I got to be my role. But maybe there was 30 of us, like, not counting the guys that were, strong one season and then left. Maybe about 20 of us, Johnny Sack, Christopher, James, Edie, Melfi, 15, 20 of us, part of the greatest show like ever. And, to be part of it, especially from where I came, one scene and then, a major role in a season. So I say I'm blessed like every day. But I also made my break. You know what I mean? I hustled. I to get where I got. I mean, I was lucky. I'm blessed, but I also made my luck because I suggested my role being gay from a book I was reading. And thank God they took that idea, or else I would have been just a background guy, a couple lines here, a couple lines there. But I had a major season dedicated to me.
What was the book?
It's called Murder Machine. And I read a lot of mob books, a lot of guys about mobsters. But, the talking is like, I'm sorry. It's amazing. It's got to be right here in the kitchen. By the way, it's my little picture of Jimmy. I don't know if you can see this.
It's a little blurred out.
It's a little blurry. I think
Why does it get blurred? Like, do you have it on blur?
It's your background setting.
It's a virtual background setting.
Oh, on my end?
Yeah.
Oh, how do I change that? Oh, sorry.
Okay.
No, you're fine. You go to your video section. There's a section that says blur background, and you can just turn that off.
Yeah, I might have done that. Because I want to show you some stuff. The meeting is being recorded. I don't see settings. Oh, wait, here we go.
Video.
Oh, wait, I just had something.
It might say adjust background or something like that.
Sorry, I know this is right in the.
It's all right.
Background effects. None.
There you go.
There you
right.
go.
We can see it now.
Oh, is that better?
Yes, absolutely.
See that?
Absolutely. That looks like some artwork. Who did that?
You know what? I found it somewhere. I found it somewhere, and I said, that looked good. I just added this room. This is an extension, and I didn't really. Let me just show you this.
No, that's legit.
Wow.
See that?
Is that from a scene? Is that from a rap party? What is that? Where's
That's
that
my
from?
wedding. That's my wedding.
That's your wedding.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Got that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you a funny story. This was like in the paper that it was in Staten Island.
A wedding you killed.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is good stuff right here.
Let me see if I could show you the back room here.
Is that where you're originally from, Staten Island?
No, I'm actually from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. He a Brooklyn guy, which makes me. While you're showing us, I have a real quick question. I know we were talking about a little bit about sports before we started. So in the show, Vito was a Yankees fan. In the film Men in Black 3, you played the role of Mets fan number 2. You Mets or Yankee? Which one is it?
I am a Yankee fan, hardcore.
Okay.
See, it's so dark in here. I don't even know if you can see this. This was a New York Observer. Can you see that?
Yeah.
How gay is Vito?
Oh.
New York Observer. This is all like, it's so dark in here.
It was in real time when they put that. That's from like the actual release.
No, that was a New York Observer, which is a Manhattan paper. It was a New York City paper that's in my room too.
Oh man, this is good stuff, man.
A meal to die for. This is cool. This is cool stuff. So
Yes,
obviously you're a Giants fan. I want to let you know. I just have to let you know. Back in October, I made a trip to Jersey to watch my Bengals beat up on the Giants on Sunday Night Football. It wouldn't be me. It wouldn't be me if I didn't let you know that.
I like Jamar Chase. LT is my guy. Phil Simms.
Nice.
NFC North. Spike unfortunately roots for that team with the star on the helmet.
I was going to say you could center that Cowboys helmet.
You can leave it there for a second.
Yeah.
Actually, it's I got it signed up the way I hate most, but I think Cowboys could move second place behind the Eagles because I do hate the Eagles. You have no idea what it's like.
I hate the Eagles.
You have no idea what it's like watching Saquon do what he's doing. It's painful,
especially when y'all had him.
Yeah, and we gave him away, and I mean it's just horrible to be starting over again. All right. So anyway, we're back to and I had a fan paint me that.
Oh, that's dope.
That's real cool.
And he painted me that. It was like our first date.
Wow.
That was the last time I smiled. Where is she?
Oh, man. That's speaking Spike's language right there, boy. Okay, sorry. What it was about the book?
All right, so where are we?
You were reading the book that gave you the inspiration for Vito.
I'll say it again. The book?
You were reading, the book.
Well, yeah. So I recommended. I don't know if you know this story. So they brought me back as Vito the second season, a couple episodes. Then the third season, I got to kill Jackie Jr. And then the fourth season, I was reading a book called Murder Machine about this guy named Roy DeMeo, who lived in Long Island, but he had a bar in Brooklyn, and they were responsible for a lot of murders. And one of those guys in his crew was gay. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And I always want to do something interesting and not what everybody else does. So I wanted to prove to myself and to the cast that I could act. And obviously, being a Brooklyn guy, it's not easy playing a gay guy. But being in the restaurant business and living in New Orleans, you work with a lot of gays. So I was comfortable with them. I didn't mind. You do your thing, I do mine. And I suggested to him, I said, listen, this is a thing that happens, the mobster. And you want to say hello? That's all right. That's Viviana.
Hi.
Hey, Viviana.
Hi, Viviana. How you doing?
I'm good. Oh my God, I look so bad.
No, you good. You good.
Where you going? CBS. That was it, and then they wound up killing this guy in Jersey for being gay, and they asked me the name of the book again. I brought it in again, and I knew that they were thinking about it. And when they went with it, now I could say that this because they're both out of the house. I was on the wrong end of the blowjob because that's not what I had in mind. You know?
Oh, you ought to be pictured, not catching.
like Paulie said.
That's right. Right. Yes. Yes.
That probably made it more.
That's-
That's what made it so much more interesting is the fact
Right.
that twist.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah. They made it. You know, it's not what I had in mind, obviously.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it would have been like, you really wouldn't like me. But then there were people that felt bad for Vito. He wanted to live his life. He was sympathetic. He was torn between the life and being like, who he was. And, you know, yeah, so they made it interesting. And again, that's what turned my life around.
Mhm.
Now, I caught some abuse back home. My friends, break balls, fucking
Mhm.
Brooklyn guys. And I knew real mobsters growing up in Brooklyn. I had restaurants in Brooklyn. So they were like, what the fuck is this about? What's going on? With fucking Joe, what is it? Gay guy? Fucking, he's gay. I wasn't married at the time. And
Yeah.
yeah, so
No.
that's what happened. So when I say made my own luck, I mean, listen, I was lucky they did it. It could have been God that made them do it. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm blessed, I
Yeah.
say, but that changed my life.
What
That's why
what?
I'm here right now talking to you.
I'm sorry. On a side note, just tying back into what gave you. I mean, I imagine you're already a confident guy, but like based on how us on the outside see David Chase, what gave you the confidence to even approach him? Because he definitely seemed like the type of person that no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not
So
taking your idea.
I didn't approach David.
Okay.
He was obviously the head writer and the creator,
Mhm.
but he had a team of writers. And
Oh, okay.
so I approached one of the writers on the down low because you can't go in front of all the other actors and go, hey, really be great for my character.
Mhm.
And, you had to take her on the side and say, look, I'm reading a book and this would be interesting. I'd be willing to do it. Gay mobster. And I passed it to them. And, sure enough, they did it.
Well, what was your? Were you shocked when you got the news that was happening? Because sometimes you can ask for things, wish for things, and then when it happens, it's like, oh, I didn't think this was really going to happen. Now I actually have to play this character.
All right. So funny story. Okay. So I suggested this in the middle of season 4, which I don't know, maybe it was 04, 05, and we're shooting, and I approached the writer, and I don't hear anything. And before we went back to start season 5, they asked me the name of the book again, and I says, "Oh, maybe they're thinking about it again." It was like revived. I didn't say anything. We get to shoot the first episode of season 5, and they come over to me and say, "Joe, we got a line change here. Paulie Walnuts is going to walk in. He's going to say, Vito, where the fuck is my Tupperware? And you're going to say, take it easy. My wife's cleaning it." And I said, okay. I'm thinking to myself, I got a wife now. Could be something, could be nothing. Okay, I don't know. So I don't hear anything. We do a couple episodes. And what happened was one of the actors got drunk and left the script in a cab because they gave you the script and you had to turn it in. So they stopped giving her the scripts because they were very, very secretive of like what was going on. And, the paparazzi was always around. They didn't want any leaks, you know? So they stopped giving us the scripts. They always give us the pages that are scenes so we could work on them. So you couldn't tell what was going on in the whole script, right? And then they, when it was time to have a read through, that's when they're shooting they're shooting one episode, they're prepping for the next episode. And probably at, in the afternoon or after lunch, they say, okay, we're going to read episode 5 coming up next, or 6 or 7, whatever it is. And that's where all the actors sit around a table. And then the writer, producers, writers, director, it is about 60 or maybe 30, 40, 50 people in a room plus all the the producers and director and so on, and they listen to us read the script, and then they make changes wherever they hear. But they want to hear the actor say the words, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what went on for a few episodes. So we didn't know what was going on next episode, but the crew got the script because they had to prepare for the next episode. You know, costumes and hair and makeup and props and say, you know, whatever's going on, they got to get ready for it. So they got a script, and we all had a little mole. My guy was the props guy, and I was friends with him, and I'd say, hey, what's going on next episode? Am I getting killed? That was always the first thing.
Right.
You know, and then he'd say, no, you're good. You're not getting killed, or you're in it, or you're not in it. And that went on for a few episodes. So I said to this one time, what's going on next episode? He goes, no, you're good. You're not getting killed. You got some good stuff. And I was like, oh, great. Beautiful. And, you know, I'm walking away and he goes, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, you're going to be blowing a guy. I went, what? I went, holy fuck. I said, oh my God, they're fucking doing it. And then
Yeah.
I go, my friends are going to fucking break balls forever. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, and then the fucking real guys in the neighborhood are going to start, and all that stuff's going
Mm-hmm.
through my mind. Like, holy shit, it's actually going to happen. And, you know, again, it's not what I had in mind. And, you know, so I get to the read through, everybody's waiting downstairs to go up and read, right? Waiting for everybody, you know, to come. And I'm walking across the street toward everybody, and Tony Sirico, Paulie Walnut, says, hey, everyone know my friend Joe the cocksucker. So I go, oh my God, here we go, right off the bat. And Jimmy Gandolfini, rest in peace,
Rest in peace.
takes me aside and says, listen, if you're not comfortable doing this, you don't have to do it. You don't, we'll go talk to David, you know. And I said, well, Jimmy, look, I kind of
It
asked
was
for
my
it.
idea.
Yeah, it was my idea. I didn't, you know, I don't want it to be just, I piped the guy and he's like a Russian. We never hear anything about it again, you
Yeah.
know?
Right.
Because then I'll always be the fucking guy that gave the fucking pipe. So they said to me, well, look, it's all you're going to see this year. But next year, be ready. It's going to be a big year for you. So that's how it all came about.
Wow.
So the reaction in the neighborhood and amongst the guys, how was that? And does it
Well,
still like exist today?
no. It's all. This was like, now we're talking like 05,
Yeah, about
06.
20 years ago
Mhm.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So oddly enough, the night after the security guard, the security guard, right? I have my neighborhood, this neighborhood restaurant where it was big, like mob kind of happening, busy bar, restaurant. I walk in and everybody's like clapping and pointing. It was like pretty cool. It was a big moment, you know? Because, you know, everybody fell off. I was watching it with 20 guys and they fell off their chair. They go, what? What the fuck was that? Were you just fucking blowing a guy? And I didn't say nothing.
Yeah.
And it was like the whole country, like in the next day on like sports radio, because this is back in the day without DVR
Mm-hmm.
and without, it was like, you know, a sports radio was talking, Howard Stern was talking about it. I called in, he invited me to Vegas. So when I walked into the restaurant, they were going nuts. And I happened to notice this girl at the bar, caught my eye, and she was with another girl I sort of knew. And they were waiting to be seated. And I had an ex-girlfriend there with a guy. And she broke up with me. So I was flirting with this girl who I was going to get, you know, I was flirting with her, get her jealous. I wound up sitting next to her. She was away. She kept checking us out. And I wound up marrying her. That was the one which just, you know.
Oh,
Wow. Oh.
Look at
Yeah.
that.
So
Boy, that's
I
amazing.
got engaged a month later and married her a year later. And a real quick story. So you saw the crew there, you saw everybody there. So I had 450 people at my wedding because I got married late and, you know, you make a lot of friends in a restaurant business and so on. And so most of the crew came and they all got drunk and told stories and sang, and it was great. Before pictures, I had cameras on the table so people could take pictures. And They all passed the mic and said nice things about me, and so on and so forth. But when it got to Stevie Van Zandt, because I had 450 people there, but I had a lot of real guys that I know, guys that thought they were real, guys that were going to be real, guys that wanted to be real. There were a lot of those guys, a lot of pinky rings in the room. And when Stevie Van Zandt got to him, he goes, I want this date to go down in history, that on this night, the crime in New York City dropped by 50%. So, because everybody was at my wedding. So that's pretty funny.
Oh man, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
No, I gotta ask you a quick question, because Spike and myself, pretty much every episode, we find a way to reference another HBO family show, or a show within the HBO family, should I say. It's not a family show, let me correct that. But another show within the HBO family, The Wire. Which
I was gonna ask you that.
Which infamously has maybe the most, you and respectfully, I say you were probably number 2, and I say the most popular gay character is probably Omar Little, both under the HBO umbrella. And the most interesting thing about it is, you mentioned The Wire came out in 2002. Your scene was happening in 2004, 2005, a much different world than what we live in today. There were risks that were being taken with that type of event. Did you think about that at all? Like, hey, is the world ready to see this kind of character? And did that cross your mind?
Yeah. So let me first of all, you guys being African American, are you saying that Sopranos is your number 1 show, or The Wire? Because I love The Wire. I
go back and forth. Those are the top 2 for me.
Yeah, top 2. I mean, because it's everybody, and then Breaking Bad. Those are the top.
Yeah, of course.
So here's the order. So Mo is unquestionably Sopranos. Not even a debate for him. Sopranos is the greatest show of all time. The Wire is number 1 for me, unquestionably. Sopranos is right there, number 2. It's the only show where I would not argue with someone if they said they like it better than The Wire. Any other show, I'm making an argument. If you tell me Sopranos is your number 1 show, I'll let that go, because it's right there. I love it.
What about Spike?
For me, I think The Wire is the best TV show ever. However, Sopranos is a really close second. The Sopranos was my first favorite TV show. But then after numerous Wire rewatches and just the depth of it, it surpassed it throughout the years. So I'd go Wire, Sopranos, and Game of Thrones, or Breaking Bad, and then Better Call Saul. That's my top 5.
Yeah. I wasn't a Game of Thrones guy at all. Before I get back into that, and I don't watch any TV. To me, it's so much shit. It's all garbage. I don't even go to the movies.
How could you watch TV when you were part of The Sopranos? How could you watch TV?
But I will tell you that the best thing I've seen, and I said there's probably about 7, 8, 9 actors that should have gotten awards, I think, or nominated or something, it was The Offer. Anyone?
The Offer.
Yeah, The Offer. Now, any Soprano fan pretty much loves Goodfellas, Casino, and The Godfather. And this was a remake, not a remake, but not a documentary. It was a reenactment of how The Godfather got made, and it was so well done. I auditioned actually for Mario Puzo, who wrote the book. But the guy who played the producer, this is his story.
Miles Teller.
Miles Teller's
in there. Yeah.
He was phenomenal. The guy who played Coppola, the guy who played Robert Evans, the guy who played Pacino, the guy who played Mario Puzo, the guy who played Brando. If none of you have seen it and you love The Godfather and you know The Godfather, you got to watch The Offer. It's been off maybe like 2 years. It's only 10 episodes. I wish people tell me about Yellowstone and now The Penguin that I got to watch, and I've been debating, do I want to put the time in? I don't really care. But The Offer, I thought was phenomenal. It's funny. I love The Wire. There was a couple of actors that were in The Wire that were on the show. And we came out in 99. 2002 was The Wire. I guess he was gay from the beginning. The difference is is that Michael K. Williams was gay. Rest in peace, another guy. I got to meet him. I do a little like kind of rap video with him. And what's the kid's name from Oakland? Little man from Oakland. I don't know, but I got to see it. Talk to Michael K. But again, he was gay. So are you acting if you're playing a gay guy? I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter much. He was tremendous in like Boardwalk Empire. He had some career. That's a fucking shame.
Yeah.
You know, I guess we all have demons, and it's a shame we lost him. But he was good. He was a dancer. He was a fucking rap dancer, like not a rap dancer, a disco, like a music,
Like a
like
background dancer.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
something like that.
I remember the song he did too, and I remember him being interviewed, and I caught it somewhere, and it was fucking really obviously before he passed. But yeah, so. Did I think at the time? I mean, it was groundbreaking because, again, I said you never see it in a mob show, and it happens. It's real, like all walks of life, and so why not the mob? And that's what I thought made it so interesting. So, um, I thought that maybe I could have got a little more support in, like maybe you know, a vote for maybe something. A little more exposure would have maybe helped my career because that was the whole point of doing it, to get more work and to show I can act. But, it is what it is. So I thought it was groundbreaking. Everybody said, like that's why it was so shocking. And I'm glad to be part of that. Not only was I part of history on the show, but part of something that I thought was a big moment in the show.
I want to pass this to Mo and Spike because this is one of their ideas. I can't remember which one, but I want them to elaborate a little bit. One of these two, if not both, and we want to get your thoughts on this. Season 3, season 4. When we were reviewing those, I believe it was Mo, and correct me if I'm wrong, that kind of dissected maybe there's something going on with Richie and Vito. Just the relationships.
Richie and Vito?
Not Rich. I'm sorry, not Richie.
Ralphie.
Ralphie and Vito.
It was
Just
Ralphie,
a certain type of relationship that they had. It just kind of seemed like there might be, especially when there's kind of
that hospital scene when I think it was his brother, got beat by Mustang Sally, and I think Ralphie made some kind of joke leaning into that, kind of like that the act of a blowjob. We might be reaching a little bit.
Is that a reach? Yeah. Did you ever look at it like that? Like maybe there's a breadcrumbs and the only reason that we even mention it is because with Ralphie's character, the whole thing with Janice and liking to, put things up his ass and, it just seemed like it could be there. So I wondered, with Sopranos being such a detailed and layered show, is that something that might have been?
I had never heard that before. And, let me think about that. Well, Ralphie was a little freaky, you know. Like I always said, the difference between Ralphie and Richie Aprile. Like Richie was like scary and
a little freaky too.
Yeah,
he's a little freaky. We have a thing about the whole Aprile crew.
There's the whole Aprile
crew. Like the whole from Richie to Ralphie, it was like a whole thing with the
Richie all the way to really Phil Leotardo, kind of like.
Yeah, but no, I never heard that about no, between Vito and Ralphie. Never heard it. Never even occurred to me actually.
Okay.
But probably Ralphie and maybe if he was in jail or if he
maybe so.
Yeah,
definitely Richie.
It wouldn't be surprise me if he like, hey, I'm in jail, so this is what I had to do, and I let him do what he wanted to me, and whatever.
Yeah.
That to me wouldn't surprise me if I heard that.
The interesting thing that we noticed, because we, like I said, you're giving us the reveal that like it was really, they really leaned into the storyline. Obviously, when you got into season 5, where they planted that seed, but the way that we watch, especially as Sopranos fans that watch things really close. Even the way you're playing it, I know at that point you don't know that they're going with it, but like you get into season 4 or I think it's 4 where we Gigi he dies in the bathroom, and we notice how Vito comes and checks in. He's the only one that's like kind of quicker and like very comfortable and like checking in on him, like literally with his pants down and everything. And I know like at that point it wasn't written to say Vito was going to go in that direction. But when you really watch it back, I think certain mysteriousness about Vito, because they may have not wrote a lot about your character, it feels like it tracks in an interesting way. So I don't know if it's the way they wrote it once they picked up that nugget you gave them, or if it's the way you played it. But it's one of these real interesting things when you watch it over and kind of tie it together.
Another example.
The security guard hadn't happened yet, right?
Right. That
No,
was
no.
season 5. So.
Right. Yeah. I think, I mean, now that I see it was blurry, I have that blown up picture of him in the, John on the toilet bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, him and Travolta, I had the picture of. I had them both on, you know.
From Pulp Fiction?
What's that?
Travolta from Pulp Fiction?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's funny. And, you know, by the way, John Fiore, who played Gigi, he was a captain for 3 episodes. It was a little bit of that. It was quick. But he was my best friend on the show. I loved him. He's got a great sense of humor. He's a Boston guy. And I had the most fun talking to him, hanging out with him. And we did a lot of things together.
So not that particular situation on the toilet, but later on after the security guard with the hot dog we mentioned on our show. And
Yeah,
like was that part of it? Like, did you do that purposely?
I did it. You know, I did it that way.
You stay. See, he was in
actually going to mention that. That's a good pickup on your part.
Now you was in it. Like, I mean, we laugh about it, but we have such a high level of respect because it's so nuanced. I mean, all of us being heterosexual males, you know, and I mean, I'd imagine somebody that's not a heterosexual male or female, they may look at it, may not feel the same as far as what it is, but obviously that era, that time is a little different. But we have such a high respect for it. Like, Vito is by far probably my top 5 favorite storylines when it comes to, because the comic relief, like, and you know the thing is, because we just did Cold Stone, and I know we'll get to that. Like when you meet Tony in the mall on Cold Stone, and it's like you're not trying to be funny, but the fact that you're not trying to be funny makes it funny. Like you come in, or Vito comes in, and he's like, hey Tony, and Tony's like,
my brother's over there.
My brother's over there.
Brother's over there.
And he's like, no, I'm just saying, like, that whole thing, that whole like I don't know who wrote the blood pressure. Like, man, this stuff is comedy. I'm like, who wrote this? Like, seriously.
Yeah. You know how many times when I like, you saw my my bobblehead that I had done, and then it had been posting on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
So how many times you know, people put like, you know, it was the medication, you know, they always put like that, or, you know, it's my blood pressure, you know, oh, so many remarks.
Yeah.
I remember asking me, what hat do you want to wear? And they had either Texas Longhorns or Notre Dame. And I got the reference. So, yeah, they put Notre Dame because Catholic University and the gayness, you know, with priests. So I got that. And I guess the Longhorns, maybe was the reference. So that was interesting. And I think I picked Notre Dame, but I think they decided for me. Yeah. So that was another good scene, and that comes up a lot. You know, oddly enough, what people love as far as scenes, I have my personal favorite. But Diana, I mean, could she be any louder, like laughing? And I mean, really, this is like, sorry, guys.
He's okay.
I might as well be in like a playground. It's just, you know.
It's fine. It's what podcasts are for. It's a beautiful thing about podcasts.
Yeah, none of this is getting edited out. Yeah, we're gonna have fun with all of this. I love it.
Yeah, she finally went up to a room. That's why we got rooms in the house. So I forgot what I was saying, because
you were talking about one of another scene that people reference.
Oh, your favorite.
When I'm looking at my watch.
They're doing the construction.
Oh, when you're working outside.
Yeah.
Like it's gotta be 8 o'clock.
Right.
It's gotta be the sun's here. It's gotta be.
And so many people say, I can't tell you how many times that happens to me. I don't want to look at my watch. I'm trying to figure out.
We talked about that.
Yeah,
Yep, we absolutely
and
talked about it.
I was the only one that had like an inner monologue,
Yeah, like that
Someone
was like a
pointed that out.
voiceover. Like,
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. Well, that was the inner monologue that I had, which was nice.
I have to ask you this because you just said something, and as cinephiles, as people who really study this when it comes to television shows, we always admire how great and how detailed a show like The Sopranos is, and we make our assumptions and our guesses about, this couldn't be by mistake, it's on purpose. And you just mentioned that they gave you two choices for hats, which means they intentionally knew it goes beyond just the script. It's like we're every single thing that goes into this character, we want to make a subtle reference. How often does that happen? Was The Sopranos that detailed? Because like I said, we guess and we assume it, but it sounds like they really were very intentional about every aspect of the show.
Pretty much, they were all into details. Also, you really, in movies, you can like ad lib and say, oh, I wouldn't say this, and this is the way I would say it. That you couldn't really change a word. You had to do it verbatim. Um, and it was so well written that it wasn't even necessary.
mhm.
But there are like details. I might have suggested that. I'm trying to remember. Uh, when I go to my basement and I take money out of the can, like a paint
Mhm.
can and maybe a gun, was there a baseball picture up or poster?
I can't recall.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
I don't
suggested,
think so.
I don't, no? All right. I said, I guess it was my subtle thing would have been having a poster of Mike Piazza, because there was a rumor going around in New York that he
He
was
was,
gay.
Oh,
I
that'd been
remember
good.
that.
Yeah.
So I
Mhm.
said that would be like a subtle thing, to have it like a Mike Piazza. But he
Mhm.
was a Met, and I was a Yankee fan, so why would I
That
have him
makes
up
sense.
there? But that would have been pretty, subtle, I thought.
You
Absolutely.
mentioned you mentioned earlier about how this all even came to be when you talked about who you came on to be at first and then becoming Vito, and you said that was an interesting story. What did you mean when you said that? Like, how did it start?
Wait, I'm
With
sorry.
Gene, well, so and
With
and just
Gino,
piggyback, yeah, I would say that Gino scene in the Legend of Tennessee Moltisanti, your first
Yeah,
appearance on the show, you were
right.
Gino, and that's one of my favorite scenes of the show. Yeah, how did you go from Gino to Vito?
So, so when I was living in LA, the first movie I did was called Money for Nothing. True story about a guy who finds $1 million in the street in South Philly. And all the characters, he was like a down and out guy, and he knew all the wrong guys, and he found the money, fell off a Brinks truck. And of course they were looking for it, and the mob gets involved and so on. Oddly enough, there were a lot of great actors in that movie. There was lead was John Cusack. My scene was with Michael Madsen. Um, James Gandolfini was in it. I think maybe he played his brother, the John Cusack's brother, who it's based on, or Joey Coyle, the guy. Philip Seymour Hoffman was in it.
Phew.
Michael, what's the kid who has a podcast that he's a Knicks fan. Michael, Michael, Jewish kid that big with the Israel. Michael, it'll come to me. And then there was Debbie Mazar and so on. So I had one scene with Michael Madsen, which was pretty cool. It was a one day. It was shot in Pittsburgh. They would have hired someone local in Pittsburgh to play my role, but they brought me out because they liked me and so on. But from that movie, and I didn't work with Benicio. I didn't really. Oh, Benicio del Toro was in it.
hmm,
I didn't know Benicio, but he sought me. Looked me. He looked for me in like how to get in touch with me, and he found me working in a restaurant. And just based on that character, he said, "Listen, I wrote and going to produce and direct a short film that I want you to be the lead in, and it's going to be you and Matthew McConaughey, and you're going to be the lead." So we played undercover drug agents, a drug deal going down in a apartment, a hotel room, and we shot for like 3 days in this hotel. So which was pretty cool. But I mean, a short film was called Submission. I don't think anything happened with it. Probably went to some film festivals. And nothing. By then, I had done a few films and got to know Benicio. But I went back to New York. But I stayed in touch with Benicio. And he said, look, I'm coming to New York and I'm going to be in these 2 movies. I'm going to try to get you in them. And he did. And the casting directors for those movies was Georgianne Walken and Sheila Jaffe. So they wanted to meet me because they said, you're a friend of Benicio's. You're in our movies. You're not even auditioning. You met the director, and we'd like to meet you. So I did, and they said, do you have an agent? I said, no. And keep in touch with us every few months to see if we got something that you're right for. And I did. And they brought me in as Gino for the bakery scene. And at the time, I said, I don't even really want to do TV. I just want to stay with movies. And they sort of laughed. They said, you don't even have an agent? So why don't you just come in and do this and just shut up, And I guess that Georgianne Walken, because Sheila Jaffe really did Entourage, but Georgianne Walken did The Sopranos. And of course, that's Christopher Walken's wife. And she remembered me. And I don't know if they needed like a fat guy, like every crew's got a fat guy. And I was big back then, like big, obese, big. But they brought me back as Vito, and that's how I got to be Vito. I don't know. I can't even remember like auditioning. Or did I audition for Vito? Or they just gave it to me. But next thing I know is building a ramp for Beansy.
Michael Rappaport is the person you were talking about.
That's it, Michael Rappaport. Thank you. That would have bothered me.
Something that I want to ask this, but I want to lead it this way. So with the guys, I talked to them and we play around the idea, like, when Tony was in a coma, could Vito have been boss? Because he was definitely like playing the politics, trying to, lock in. I'm a young man, I'm a good earner, and now without the weight, he's selling,
healthy.
Yeah, he's getting healthy. So there's this thing that I almost wish the Vito character would have had more. And I thought, like, I guess I viewed it differently. When you're having the encounter, or Vito's having the encounter with Finn DeTrolio on the construction site,
right?
And there's this moment. He's like, you pee like a racehorse, and then so he's all like charming to Finn and regular, and he's like, hey, let me hear you say it then. What's up, Vito? You doing that whole thing, and then it switches to don't do that. Don't do that all shuck shit with me. You're going. And that little small tidbit, it's like, you know what? It's a piece of me that wish that as much as we see him on like kind of the gay side and being the catcher, I would have liked to see so much menacing side of it too with Vito, because that little scene to me was like, because Vito's whack people and he has no problem doing that, even getting in a car accident and whacking somebody because I don't want to exchange insurance. There's a piece of me that always is like, man, I wish they would let him get a little more gritty, a little more menacing on that side of it, because I thought you pulled it off really well. I don't know if that was what you were going for, but.
Well, I got to tell you, that was my favorite scene. That is my favorite scene of all my scenes, because I did that in 2 takes, and I was, that's kind of like, it was a back and forth, but, it was pretty intense. Got to keep it rolling, and I guess I was just like, in the moment, in the zone. It just flowed. And when I did the second take, they go, okay, moving on. And I was like, moving on? We only did 2 takes. Why aren't we doing? And they were like, Terry Winter, who's brilliant writer, said, no, you got it. He wasn't correct. I think Tim Patterson was. They go, you got it. You're moving on. We're moving on. You got it. I go, really? And really, I usually, my hem and haw, I might stammer about it just flowed right out of me, and it was like perfect. And I thought I did it well, but you always think you could do it better.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, no, you don't got it. You don't have to. It's perfect. And so it was great. And so, I start off nice, and you came in so early this morning, and it's good that you're young and you're strong,
Yeah.
and you sound like a racehorse pissing in. I'm checking them out, and you don't know if I like them or
Yeah.
I'm trying to intimidate him or I'm playing with him. He did see me in that morning,
Hmm.
doing what I did, and I'm taking him to a Yankee game because I want to get to be friends with him, or do I want to size him up and fucking get rid of him? Who knows?
Yeah.
So you don't really know what's going on there. I'm not even sure really,
Hmm.
but that is my favorite scene.
Mm.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's so. I'm sorry. I'll let y'all go next, but it's just this little thing, and I don't know. I know you say you nailed it, but it's this thing where you get a little entryway. Like we people focus a lot on Tony's like kind of psychotic, sociopathic ways. But that was like a moment. It felt like that with Vito, where it's like all of these guys are kind of like that in some sense in this show, and that was like kind of the glimpse to me of Vito because he was like all like cheery about it, and then he just switched, and just the way you did it, it was just I can't harp on it enough. It was just so perfect to me every time I see that scene. I'm like, no, that's a interesting transition there. So it's I don't know.
Yeah. Well, David Chase said, when you think that, these guys just like to have fun and break balls and so on, and then they go out and kill somebody, you got to remember that they're killers,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really be that sentimental about them. One other thing I want to tell you is that when I said you couldn't change a word, I think that one actor said, like, I want to say it this way. I want to say this word instead of that word. And they would stop production, call up to the writer's room. They'd have this discussion. It was probably about 10, 15 minutes before they come down with an answer. Usually it was like, no, it stays this way. We're not changing it. And so, the word, like the actor would say, tell David, it's like, my character wouldn't say that, And then the word would come back from the writer's room, probably David. So David said, no, it stays that way, the way he wrote it. And he also said, who says it's your character? No, no. So
Yeah.
in other words, I created the guy. I know who he is,
Yeah, that's true.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
So did you guys listen to the podcast Talking Sopranos?
Yes,
Mo
Yeah,
did.
I've listened to episodes and I have the book as well.
I listened to the
Okay, good.
whole thing. Yeah.
Did you get the book by the New Jersey film TV critic called, and I actually got it. He broke down every episode too. Was really behind the scenes.
I
What's
thought
it called?
I thought about purchasing that. I didn't know if it was worth the purchase or not.
What's the
But
name of it?
Yeah, what's the name of it? You know what I'm talking about?
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Let me try to find it.
Yeah. And I knew the guy's name. I think it was two writers, but one of them wrote every. He was good. I
The
think that's
Soprano
a good.
Sessions.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. That's a good book. And did you watch David Chase's documentary there?
Yes, we
Yes.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a
We
review of
actually
it. Actually,
we discussed it actually, like a back of the bean, sort of like what we're doing now. We had a conversation about it.
Right. I didn't
did,
see that. And did you watch the Saints of
Many
Mixed
Saints of
Many
Newark.
Saints of Newark. Yep, y'all
yeah,
seen the movie.
Saints of Newark? Did you watch that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it
Yeah.
wasn't as
I,
great as I wanted it to be,
yeah.
but yeah, we watched
So
it.
I do that. I didn't watch it. I didn't watch Chase's. I didn't watch that. I had a feeling that wasn't going to be good because one, it took too long to make, or too long for it to come out.
Mm.
And I said, if it's not what Soprano fans, they waited how long for that? They waited a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Long time.
And Soprano fans want to see the Bing, murder, mob stuff. They don't want to see any kind of social
Yeah.
fucking,
No.
you
Yeah,
know what
that
I
was
mean?
it was
A
very heavy
statement.
handed.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they don't want to
very
see
heavy
it
handed.
taken, and so it didn't. Maybe a movie on its own would have did well, okay, but if you're waiting for a Soprano fan waiting for that, it's not what you want to see.
Joe, let
It's
me ask
funny.
you.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Spike.
Based off what you just said, I'm interested in like how do you consume the content of The Sopranos? You said you didn't watch the doc, you didn't watch, well, you listened to the movie, you like this book. Going back and listening to the show, like, do you ever like look at the show? Do you have favorite characters, seasons, scenes, things like that?
I swear
So,
that was my question, man. It's insane how much we think alike. That was my exact question.
uh, so
It's an ongoing thing. Without,
I
share
mean,
that.
y'all almost dressed the same. I mean,
I I
Can't go
never
wrong with a black
watched
tea,
the
man.
show
Change.
on my own. I
sorry,
never
sorry,
watched
Joseph.
the show on my own.
Okay.
I do private cooking now for people that are big Soprano fans, and they'll get it for a gift for their husband. It's been going on about 5 years. I did over 100 parties. It's
Wow.
actually been very successful. They're not cheap.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. They're not cheap. And they pay for the food. They pay my assistant, and they pay either 150 a person, 160, 175, or 190, and it's for minimum of 16 people. I'm there at the house 10 hours. And it's for like the husband, it's a gift, it's his birthday. Um, so they're gonna get him that. They usually get him out of the house. I go there and I'll surprise him. They get him out of the house, he'll answer the door. I go, what the fuck you want there? All the people are behind me, they go, surprise. It's a lot of things. And I did over 100, and it's been great. It's been a great run. And sometimes they'll have the show on, or sometimes it'll be just a group of guys with their wives, and they know every line. It's 10 hours of lines. They know every fucking line. But
Guilty.
sometimes I'll stop and I'll look at it and go, I remember what was going on. Especially they show my scenes with Johnny Cakes, John Costello, who was a great actor, New York, who took his life.
Rest in
Yeah.
peace.
Oh, weird.
Yes, exactly. Um,
Yeah.
and I'll stop and I'll think about it, and I'll think. But the reason why I don't like to watch it is because one is I don't like to see. Well, first I don't want to see Jimmy. I don't like to see him. Tremendous actor, and he was a great guy. And I don't like to see myself the way I walked. I need double hip replacement. So
Oh,
I
okay.
was in tremendous pain, and the way I walked is like I walk like the penguin, like the guy's walking now.
Yeah.
And maybe he got that walk from me. I don't know.
I think he did. A
There
lot
have
of the
been
motivation, a
He
lot of
might have.
motivation for their role came from The Sopranos. You can see a lot of Jimmy in him and them
I,
taken
I,
directly from the show.
I think you're right. But so I don't like to see that. And I remember they were trying to hire my double, and I had to judge them. These guys walking like me. I go, this is fucked up. I go,
Is
because I mean, as soon as they killed me, I got my hips done the same day with double hip replacement. I started playing golf. I walked the course. I dropped 100
Oh,
pounds. I play pickleball 2, 3 times a day. I'm addicted. So I've been playing ball. In the last year, I'm like down 100 pounds. I got another 40 to go.
Hmm.
So,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. But so those are the reasons why I don't watch the show.
Mm.
And I always say, you know what? It's so brilliantly written. Maybe it'd be nice, to like really get into it, because I would probably like Uncle Junior the best. I think he had the best lines, the best delivery. I think, he was great. Even some of Walnuts, but I liked Uncle Junior.
um,
What?
go ahead, Rich.
I'm sorry, real quick, just because it's kind of in the same vein. Can you explain to us pre-social media days what it's like to be on a show that huge? Like, what was your personal life like walking down the streets? And also, did you ever feel like doing something that big and that important and culturally relevant? Did you ever feel like this? I'll never top this. Is there ever a feeling of that? Like, oh, that the greatest thing I've ever done is already in my past? Or do you look for motivation to say, I'm going to do something else to fulfill that?
Yeah. So whenever I'm trying to get a reservation or tickets or whatever the case may be, whatever it is, I'm always looking for an angle. I like to work it. I like to, you know, I don't like go out and brag about it, but you know, if I'm saying, you know, if I get stopped by the cops, if I,
Leverage it.
yeah, I always, you know, I always ask if I'm over the phone and I need to get a room and something. I go, listen, you happen to be a Soprano fan? If you watch the show, I know if I'm calling up Ohio and it's a woman, the fucking, oh, I heard of it. Oh, I don't think, you know, and I go, I'm fucked. I'm fucked. But if
Nah.
they go, oh my God, I love this show. I go, well, I played Vito. Really? No. I go, well, Google my name. Yeah. And I go, listen, I'm halfway there. I'm halfway home now. And so I say, look, I really could use this thing. Oh, I'm sure we can help you. You know what I mean? I go, all right, good. So I definitely too. I definitely try to leverage it wherever I can, whatever I do. And so when people say need a reservation, go to a restaurant, I said, no, I'm going to just walk in. I'm sure they'll find me a seat, you know, or two, you know, and normally I don't have a problem. Sometimes they don't even know who I am. You know, it's a young girl. She'll like, can I help you? And I go, no, I need a table. Oh, there's like 2 hour wait. I go, is there a manager or an owner around? And then they'll flip out. And the girl has, yeah, it's not her fault.
No
She's
idea
young.
who you are. Yeah.
Yeah. But I always said like being on the show was like being on the 27 Yankees or the 85 Bears. You know, that defense, you know, like Wilbur Marshall and fucking Michael Singletary and,
Richard Dent,
Richard Dent and that
Refrigerator
front
Perry.
four.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like, you know, once in a lifetime, you know, team. By the way, my my favorite guy to work, you know, people say, who was your favorite actor to work with? And I said, unquestionably, my favorite guy to work with. Me being a hardcore, probably my top idol. I got three idols: Muhammad Ali, Jackie Robinson, Lawrence Taylor. And
Oh
when they
man.
told me that Michael Strahan was going to be doing a scene, I go, Michael Strahan's doing a scene that I'm in? I go, oh my God, that's going to be great. I get to the set. Is he here? Oh, he's not doing it. Something came up. I was like, oh, fuck. I go, oh man. They said, but a guy named LT is going to, and I said, LT is here, is
A
doing
guy
the
named
scene.
LT.
I said, I'm going to be in the scene with Lawrence Taylor. And so for 3 hours, he told stories. He sent his assistant out to get me two footballs to sign. I was saying to myself, it was like that. And when I was getting a 3 hour lap dance at the Bada Bing, I go, I'm getting paid for this. This is fucking the greatest thing ever. So listening to LT tell stories and getting a lap dance are the two best things that's happened to me like ever.
I love that.
Oh man, this is great.
I love that. I love that, man. I
uh,
love that.
I wanted to ask. I mean, I know you say you don't watch the show. Actually, I got two questions. One, just looking back at it, even if you just kind of remember scenes and stuff, is there any other character that you've seen who's like, man, I wouldn't have mind taking a stab at that if I were like, you know, in the obviously beginning stages of when the pilot was shot, I would have been interested in taking a stab at another character, see if I could, you know, pull it off, or audition for it.
Maybe the chef, Artie Bucco, John Ventimiglia, maybe, but they showed him cooking one. I think I was just watching an episode. He was looking at an old cookbook or notes that he had written.
Hmm.
I don't know where I saw it, but I think it was maybe on Instagram or it was just a scene where he's cooking, and I thought that was nice. I wish they would have showed more of me cooking when I did cook for Cakes,
Yeah.
Johnny Cakes. I was doing my little knife skills.
Well, you got to wait
It's
for
like,
that.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you got to wait for that. Yeah. Yeah, that would have been, but not really. I don't think any other, you know, actor or what do you call cast member that I would have wanted to be in character. I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of like Vito. He was there. He almost took over.
Mm-hmm.
He was almost in charge. Here's another little tidbit. I'm hitting with all my tidbits. Um, Sometimes you can't get a line out. You know, it's a tongue twister. No matter how much, maybe you think about it too much, it doesn't come naturally. You can't get it out. So the scene where I tell Walnuts about a big job, he gets kicked in the balls,
Mhm.
and I meet him in the bathroom, and Don Silvio is on the toilet bowl. He's the acting boss,
Mhm.
and I walk in, and Walnuts is limping, and I forgot the exact words, like, yeah, I'm here for my cut, and he says, you know, I'm expecting this big number, and he tells me that, and I go, what? I fucking cased that myself, Paulie. That's not, you know, I got this coming. And he goes, first thing he says to me was, even now I still fucking laugh. Amazing. He goes, have a donut, you're delirious, you know, which because after the fucking weight loss, you know.
Yeah.
And I go, fuck it all, Paulie. And I think I make a move toward him. And he goes, back up, Pluto. I just could not stop laughing. I just, no matter what I tried, I just could not stop. And he goes, have a donut, you're delirious. And then back up, Bluto. Like, first of all, not many people even know Bluto, you know, because I was a Popeye fan. I love Popeye growing up. And then Bluto was this big fucking guy. And
Mhm.
he calls me Bluto. And I tried and tried and tried. And I think we had a break for lunch. And I just had to think of like dead babies, like, you know,
Oh wow,
uh,
yeah.
being impaled or something. I don't know. To get through that scene, it was like the funniest thing.
It seemed like it
That's
would be
funny.
hard to act. Like it'd be hard because he's so. Rest in peace to Tony Sirico, but he's so committed. Like everything, his hand gestures, his looks, he's so committed to it. I couldn't imagine like having to keep. Then he's being funny while doing the gesture over and over. It's like, man, I don't know how to like. Actors are amazing sometimes because it's like, man, how are you? You have to get this done, like So, but anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
From
Time is,
season to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
saying time is money.
Yeah,
sure.
that's 100% true. From season to season, could you tell like the groundswell of how much more popular you were becoming? Like how did things change on the set and even when you were out and how you were perceived? Like from season to season as it continued to grow, how did that look for you being a part of it?
Up until season 6, my big season, I mean, you know, I was just, you know, guy on The Sopranos, and
You were the guy that popped Jackie Jr.
yeah. That was my big moment, you know, and not many, you know, that was like not a, you know, that wasn't a really a game changer. But after season 6, then, you know, then I was like, you know, doing radio interviews, and I did some print interviews, and you know, things changed for me. Again, not the way I wanted it, work wise, you know.
Mhm.
But um, you know, again, I mean, it's now 18 years later, and here I am being interviewed about the show, right?
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
find it just as interesting as if it was just ended or still running. So it continues. The 25-year anniversary helped. Um, Kids now that are in school, my parents watched it. Now I'm in my dorm, and now I'm watching it. You could watch it, you know, on your phone. You could watch it so many different ways. It just never ends. It just keeps giving, and that's the beautiful part of it, you know. I mean, The Wire is good. I don't think the guys in The Wire go through this. Um,
Mm.
or Breaking Bad. You know, the
Yeah.
two main guys are good. But you know,
Yeah. It's a different phenomenon with the Sopranos,
yeah,
man.
yeah. Sopranos was, you know, just once in a lifetime. You know, you might say Seinfeld or
Oh,
MASH.
Seinfeld for sure. Yeah, yeah, Seinfeld.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that was four people. I mean, it's legendary, those characters. I mean, sometimes I'll reference them. You know, I'll think of like in a moment. But again, you know, so many times, you know, I'll throw lines from Uncle Junior. Take it easy. What are we making, a Western here? Or you know, I'll say to my wife sometimes, "But were you this fucking stupid when I married you?" You know?
Come on. That's a classic line, man. One
Uh,
underrated character right there.
yeah, that was fucking great. And Mikey Palmace was great.
Mhm.
it's just so perfectly cast. It was so great.
It was.
Yeah, so I'm just so glad I was part of it. Really. Like I said, I'm blessed. I have all this, I have beautiful house. I got married, a daughter. I don't think that would have happened if I didn't do the show. I've
Mm.
probably been in Brooklyn in my apartment, smoking cigarettes, betting games, gambling like a degenerate.
Mm.
Yeah, I
You
love how
know,
you got to look over. I love how he looked
Yeah,
over, man.
yeah,
yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah,
authentic.
yeah. And that's good.
What?
yeah.
Let me ask you. Well, we had the pleasure of briefly seeing your daughter there. Does she care about any of this? Does she know? It says she watched The Soprano. I'm not sure if she's been old enough to really kind of understand or really would appreciate it. But does that?
She gets it now. I mean, she's 15.
Yeah.
She gets it. When she was young, she when I did the movie called College Road Trip with Martin Lawrence and
Mm-hmm.
Raven,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
and we fall in the water, and he pushes me or whatever. It's a pond, and she used to cry. She thought I was going to drown. Um,
Oh,
but now, I mean, she knows. Like her teachers are fans. She goes to a private Catholic school. She wasn't public, but I just had a cigar with one of her old teachers. He's a big fan. Even in the Catholic school, when I've gone up there, they're big fans, and she likes it. Or a lot of her classmates' parents are fans, which is cool, and it makes it feel good. And I always tell her, look, I said, look, you have my last name. People know who I am. One is I don't want to be embarrassed by you, and two is people are going to scrutinize you more and say that's the guy from The Sopranos' daughter. So don't fuck up. I don't say fuck up. I don't curse. Fuck up. But don't make me embarrassed, and don't embarrass yourself. So, you got to watch yourself. It's a little different.
yeah.
And really, to tell you the truth, guys, I mean, I don't even look myself as like anything. Like I'm, a celeb on my block, quote unquote. What my problem being is I don't want to be, and it's been like 18 years, and what have I done? It's been a lot of doors open for me, and I've done a lot of business, but I don't want to be. I mean, it's looking like I am. I hope something. I mean, I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. A one-hit wonder. Like whatever happened to that guy, you know?
Mhm.
So, I mean, that thing hasn't come up yet. I mean, I'm shooting something in Florida very quick, something Saturday. I'm just going down there for a couple of days with the event that there's going to be more films, but everything's low budget. Something I never had that fucking breakthrough, that boom, put me on the next level. But it is what it is, and as long as I can earn and support my family, I don't care.
Let me, based off that, let me ask you, if the opportunity presented itself where your next breakthrough was a big TV show, would you prefer it be a TV show, a movie, or one of those cooking shows on Food Network? Like, do
Food
you?
Network, I had a great idea for a cooking show called Food Bowl. Uh, First of all, Food Network is such garbage now. It's all competition or going to visit places, or there's no actual cooking and explaining it. The best cooking show is America's Test Kitchen. That's like on PBS, and that's to me is the best. Even that's changed because the main guy left and doing his own thing. But that to me was the best show. Um, it wouldn't matter to me if I was in a great movie or a great TV show, as long as it's well written. There's so much garbage out there that it's like, you know, it's painful. But like, I understand you got to pay the bills, but there are some good shows there that you would like to be a part of. And another show that was one of the writers, which is up there for me, from The Sopranos, is Mad Men. It's
Yeah.
brilliant, 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 brilliantly written by Matt Weiner, and he was a late on addition to The Sopranos. But brilliant. I mean, I love it. I made John Hamm a star. The girl Peggy, you see, the girl with the big tits and red hair, you don't see that much. And a lot of those people you don't see anymore. You know,
Yeah.
what happened to them? But that was good. I don't know if you guys have watched it. It's brilliantly written, beautiful. I'd much rather take something that's written so well that you're like, wow, that was nice to watch and hear and so on.
Speaking of writing, you talked about making your own luck and kind of hustling your way in this industry and throughout life, as only a Brooklyn guy can. A Meal to Die For.
Right.
What was that process like, writing a book, a novel that kind of combined both of the things that you love? You know, elements of The Sopranos. I think James Gandolfini, I think on the cover it even says it's Big Night meets Goodfellas.
Right.
What was that process like for you creatively? And is that something that you see yourself doing more of?
So again, me being a resourceful kind of marketing, kind of hustling kind of guy, I only have one client, and that's myself. I'm not a writer, and I had no book. But what I did do is the New York Post put it in page 6. Page 6 was like all the gossip.
Mm-hmm.
So I got how I worded it, but the guy that ran page 6, that was like all around town, and this one was seen here, and this happened there, and I said, I'm shopping around my manuscript for my life story of like being a chef before the Sopranos. And I've been meeting with different publishers, and I thought that maybe it'd be interesting if you wanted a little tidbit, from one of the Sopranos. And sure enough, he put it in the paper. Joe Gannascoli, Vito from Sopranos, former chef, shopping around his life story. And I had no life story. I had no book. I had nothing. But sure enough, a publisher got in touch with me and said, "Hey, I'd like to hear more about it." And I went in to see him. I said, "Look, let me be honest with you. I don't really have a story, but I'd like to, and I'm not a writer, but I have an interesting story. I had, self-taught chef. I had a restaurant. I gambled it away. I lost it all one Sunday, 1990, 60,000 on 3 games. And I moved to LA to pursue acting. That's the truth. And from that, I went to The Sopranos, played 1 role, then second role. This was after the show was over. They killed me. And that's how it happened. So, see, that's why I'd rather be at the cigar lounge than home. fucking arguing. It's always an argument up there. Unbelievable. So, and I got the book published, and so that's how I got it done. So, yeah, I mean, some ideas backfire on me. I came out with my own pool cue. My book was called A Meal to Die For.
You really leaned into marketing, buddy. He's a herder for real. He leaned
That's
into
crazy.
a pool cue.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So the book I had a sauce called Sauce to Die For. I had a book called The Meal to Die For. The cue was a cue to die for. And the tagline was, "Does this pool cue make my ass look fat?" Because
man.
So I was the poster boy for Glad, right? They were like, "Oh wow, a major character brought light into the the abuse that the homosexuals face because they're gay and how they're abused." And now I was glorifying it with a pool cue. So I went from a hero all the way I had Artie Lang, who was a pool player from Howard Stern, posed with a fucking cue. And all of a sudden, my friend put out a press release for me. Joe Gannascoli from Vito died with a pool cue. Shove up his ass, comes out with his old pool cue. And Glad complains to HBO. And so this fucking manufacturer got stuck with all these cues. I said, "You know what? I really feel bad. Give me the cues. Like, I'll pay, I don't know, 50 cents for them, whatever. And I'll see, I'll just give them out to friends." Meanwhile, I wound up selling them privately. So, but that idea didn't work out. So not everything worked out.
All you had to do was tell them it's a joke.
Yeah, that's right. I'm just here. It's a joke. But we spent a good hour and a half, and you guys are still coming strong with questions. You think we got there? We're good.
I think
I think so. I think we're good. I have a friend who lives in Jersey. I'm not sure. He lives in Jersey. He's actually the first time I ever went to the Sopranos house. He was the one that took me.
North
I let him
Caldwell?
know. Yeah, he let me know. I let him know that we had the honor and pleasure of talking to you. He wanted me to ask you, do you have any favorite pizza places in New Jersey?
You
Pizza
know,
places and bars, if any.
yeah, I'm one of those guys that, those funny times. I don't like meatballs, and I'm not. I know some people, the fucking Rich. What's it? Not Richard Pryor. Um, Dave Portnoy. He's got a whole, obviously, one bite. He's a big pizza guy. I mean, I like a good slice of pizza. I don't go always looking for the greatest slice of pizza. You know, um, it's kind of like your own preference. Um, some like I like my meatballs soft and like a little spongy. Some people like them hard. Pizza, they like thin crust. I just like a well-made pizza that tastes good. Um, I don't really have a favorite place in Jersey. I don't really get to Jersey. I'm in Long Island, so I'm not in Jersey that much. I'm sure there's a lot of places that make great pizza, and so no, I do not have a favorite pizzeria. To
My
answer
last
your
Fair enough.
question.
question. My last question. I'll let Mo wrap it up. What were the 3 games in '90 that you bet on to lose?
I bet on because it was the 90s, you didn't have all that thrown at you, so it was just
Yeah,
depends on. It was the Giants. Giants were going into the Super Bowl. They were going. They
yeah, that was the
finished
Phil
the season.
Sims. They had just went that year.
Yeah, they won that year against the Bills, and it was the last game of the year. And of course, they rested their starters. They were 12 and a half point favorites, and the New England Patriots beat them 12-10. And I go, what the fuck? And so I doubled up on the Jet game. They lost. And then I put it all on, again, doubled. And my bookie's like, there's a lot of money. You got to back this or what? It's 1990. It was $30,000 bet. And so I go, listen, I got the restaurant. I'm good for it. I'm up and down, 5, 10 here, 10 back. 10, I was betting big. I was making money. And so it was the Houston Oilers against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Mm.
Pittsburgh Steelers had the number one defense. They had on
Neil O'Donnell, right? Was that the guy?
That might have been a little
mm,
bit
A
before
little
Neil.
later.
yeah, it was before Neil. They had that guy Rod in defense.
Rod Woodson.
Rod Woodson.
Rod
Rod
Woodson.
Woodson.
Yes, he
Mm-hmm.
went
Yeah.
on announcing. They had him. I don't think they had Palomalu yet,
Nah,
but
No.
they
not
had the
90.
number one
Nah.
defense playing
They
the
had
Oilers.
Greg Lloyd and they
Greg
had
Lloyd, Kevin
Green,
Green.
Kevin Green. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Kevin Green. This is like 90. So going into the playoffs, the resting their plays, and they're playing the Houston Oilers, which were not going anywhere, and they started the quarterback. Oh fuck! I used to know his
Warren
name.
Moon.
No, they rested Warren Moon. Maybe they were going into the playoffs, or they weren't. I forget.
Was it
But no,
Chandler? Kyle
Chris
Chandler? One
Chandler.
Chandler? Chris
No,
Chandler,
not
yes.
Chandler. No, it was a backup quarterback. I'm gonna have to look him up because I knew his name so well. He was a backup journeyman. He threw for like, I don't know, maybe 500 yards. They were resting their defense. They had second and third stringers in. The fucking Oilers killed them. I was looking at the TV. It was in a restaurant that I was partners in. I was looking at them and I was like pale, and I'm thinking, holy shit, I just lost the restaurant. What am I gonna do? How am I gonna get out of this? And I told my partner the next day. They go, Joe, you don't look so wrong. You all right? I go, no, I'm fine. I'm just, tired. And I said, I went up, I lived above the restaurant. And I went up and I said, I just lost the fucking restaurant.
Mm.
Either I'm going to move to Italy or move to LA and with this guy I know and pursue acting. And that's what I did. And I straightened out. I didn't tell my family. I didn't tell this girl I was seeing. I just moved. And 3 days later, I was living in LA. So those were the 3 games.
Was it Cody Carlson or Reggie Slack?
That's it.
Cody
That's
Carlson.
it.
That's
Cody
it.
Carlson. I know it's Cody Carlson. That's the guy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
Well, Joseph Gannascoli, thank you so much for just allowing us to have some time with you, man, giving us such great gems and inside stories, man. We had truly a great time conversation. I think you did us such a solid injustice in what you did. You didn't hold anything back, and you felt real comfortable with you, man. So before we get out of here, is there anything you got coming up or you want people to search for to, to just support you before we let you go?
Well, first let me say, like, all three of you guys were very well prepared. I've done interviews where they think I got shot and thrown over on a boat, and I go, "You're interviewing
not
me,
me.
and you have the wrong character." I
Yeah.
go, "Did you do any research, or did you watch the show?" You guys were very well prepared, intelligent questions. Like sometimes, well, in the street, some jerk off will say, "Are you really gay?" And I go, "Well, ask your sister." You know, or ask. Why don't you ask your wife if I'm, But you guys were really, really good. And
Yes. Thank you.
yeah, so I appreciate that. And I'm doing my vodka. It's a beautiful bottle. I don't know if you've seen it. Maybe on Instagram you have. It's made from grapes, imported from Spain. It's the smoothest vodka you'll taste. When I let people taste it, it's at room temperature, not even chilled. So I'm doing a lot with the vodka, and I try to promote it. Unfortunately, it's not out nationwide. But one day, it took Tito's 15 years to build. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a process, Other than that, they could follow me on Instagram and whatever I got going on, I pretty much put out there. But I
Nice.
thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely.
As you
Happy
as you meet Sopranos fans, Joe, tell them to take a listen to Good Earners. They'll love it.
Well,
Yeah.
when you post this, I'll definitely, I got to, always figure out how to repost it. I could always put it on Facebook, but, I always have a problem on how to do it on Instagram. Like, you can't really share, and I don't know if you can't put the link up. It's hard to do it. Sometimes I do screenshots, but then they can't click on it. I don't know.
We
That's
we,
okay.
we could
So,
walk you through it if
Any way you
necessary, but
do it,
we
yeah.
appreciate
We
you either
appreciate
way.
yeah.
Obviously, I know you have a birthday coming up in February. Happy early birthday to you as well.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. If I would have known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself.
I said the
Man.
same
So,
thing.
hey, Ray Charles said the exact same thing.
Oh, was it? Because I heard
Yep.
Mickey Mantle said it.
I'm sure a lot of people do. There's a
Add me to that
quote.
list.
There's a movie I love called The Photograph. There's a character that says, "Man, I don't suggest getting older. Less people to talk to, more time to live with your regrets."
Oh,
But
I like that. That's all right.
it's a beautiful thing though. Getting older, man, it's better than the contrary. That's what I say.
You know what? I always say some people aren't lucky enough to get old. So
Yeah.
I get that. You guys definitely check out The Offer. You'll thank me. If
Gotcha.
you're a Godfather fan, like you are, I don't know if you're as big a Soprano fan as your Godfather, but you'll appreciate it. And it's been a pleasure. You guys have safe, healthy, and happy holidays.
Same to you and yours.
You and yours,
Yeah,
man.
thank you, pal. And thanks for having me on, and good luck on your next interview.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you so
sharing your
much.
time. We appreciate you.
All right, guys, be well.
You as
You
All
well.
right.
too. See ya.
See ya.
Well, there you have it. Crazy. We just got last episode, Rich just gave the speech of a lifetime that definitely put me and Spike in our bag, like to finish strong on doing this. Like talking about being one of the greatest commentaries on Sopranos ever, because I knew it sparked something in me, and I could tell it sparked something in Spike too, because when we were into it, we was locked in, like it was a boost. And to talk about like what this will be when we're all said and done, and to have an interview like that, fellas, anything y'all want to just say about that before we get out of here, man?
I don't geek out about much. I don't really, even when I do geek out, you probably won't know it or see it expressively. But man, what a cool moment. The older I get, the more I realize that the good shit that I'm waiting on is really happening right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Rich
It's not
with
the
the
stuff that I'm looking
bars.
forward to,
Boy.
man. It's really happening right now in the moment.
Damn.
And that was, it's gonna take a while to really process what I thought, but that was really cool just to be able to converse and shout out shout out to Gannascoli for just being so open with his time and questions, and just a humble individual. For three dudes that just are pouring their passion into what we do. For him to be like, you know what, I just caught your show on the random. Sure. Yeah, this went from me and Spike laughing Mo out the room like, nigga, there's no way that's really him to Mo. You once again, Mo, we always give you your credit, man. I told Spike when we were recording another week in the book, so you don't even know this, Mo. I told Spike, if this was up to me and Spike, that interview would have never happened because neither one of us would ever followed up or took it seriously. Mo, you quarterbacking that and setting this up, man. Like, shout out to you, salute to you.
Thank you.
And what an honor, what a pleasure, and we hope everyone out there who listens to Good Earners and enjoys it really enjoys that conversation, because that's one of the coolest moments that I've ever experienced, and that's not even talking about just podcasts, and I mean just in life, just having that talk with somebody from a show that I absolutely love and revere and the whole nine. So I'm gonna keep it short, but man, what a moment.
Yeah. If you had told me when we started doing this mode, like this would be some of the fruition from it, I wouldn't have believed you. And not to say that we just sit down and interview Carmela or nothing, and not to take anything away from it either. But just as Rich was saying last week, pouring your passion into something, doing this, taking pride in it, and making sure that it's a great example of who we are as people, going to the email from the teacher to the people that talk to us constantly about, how they use this show to get through whatever it is that they listen to or do throughout the day. It says a lot. It says a lot from just like a project that the intention really never was that, but it grew into that, and people can hear it when they listen to this. They can tell how serious that we take this. And I think Rich said it perfectly last week. Like, this is going to be a piece, like this is like a painting that we did.
Yeah.
Like, we have going to be the end episode of all of our comments on this show, and this show is one of the greatest shows of all time. So that's something to be said for all three of us. And to give you your flowers too, Mo. If it had been like Rich said, if this was me, like I was like, man, get out of here, bro. Like that. Why would he be responding on our comments or anything like that? But I really want you to understand, Mo, that is a gift. That is a gift to push through and not to listen to, like, and me and Rich weren't clowning you in the sense of, oh, he's dumb. Like, it wasn't anything like that. I think you know that. And I think you know that we were doing it in good faith, but still for you to just silence that and just, I ain't even got to listen to that. I'm still going to push through. That shit, that is true. That's your superpower, bro. And I don't ever want you, don't ever like shy away from that. Like, you do that, you're a beast at that. And I want you to know that. I want people to hear that. And that's genuinely coming from the bottom of my heart. Like, that is a superpower of yours, bro. Keep doing it.
Yep. We wouldn't have never met if it wasn't for Mo doing that to either one of us. So, and real quick before you go, Mo, I just want to say one thing, because this has been in my mind for a while. I don't know if anybody out there listening to this is watching Hard Knocks for the AFC North.
No, we're not, Rich. Nobody's watching that.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, Mike Tomlin, man. My goodness, man. I will play for Mike Tomlin and run through a wall. But there's one thing that he said in one of the episodes a couple weeks ago, and it's been sticking with me ever since. Right? Joey Porter Jr., he plays cornerback for the Steelers. He had a couple of bad games, like just a lot of penalties. He's not playing up to his performance. And there was a moment in practice where the cameras catch Mike Tomlin talking to him, and he said something that's just been resonated with me. He said, listen, I know you want to be great. I know you want to be great, but guess what? It ain't going to happen today. It ain't going to happen tomorrow.
I saw that.
Like, just talking about the importance of brick by brick. Like, the greatness doesn't happen right now, right? You're not going to wake up tomorrow and be great, but you can take the steps right now to where in the future you get to a point you can look back at this time and say, okay, then that's where it started and that's how I got here. And it's so simple, but it resonated with me. I know you want to be great, but it's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen tomorrow. But you got to put that work in. And I just thinking of where we are right now, like Spike said, when he said, if you would have told me this would have happened, I never believed it. No. I felt the same way. And that was us these past year and a half, 2 years. That's just been us trying to be great, knowing that it's not going to happen today, but still pushing forward. And if we didn't take this seriously, we'd have never been where we are today, where somebody like an actor like Joseph Gannascoli would join us and have this conversation and take us seriously enough to share his time. So, Mo, salute to you. Spike, the same, man. as they say, my heart is full.
Yeah. Man, again, I appreciate y'all sentiments. I really do appreciate that. And I've talked about it before. Like, the only reason I do that is because I was so scared of rejection when I was young. And I realized it's like, bro, what are you scared of? So what? So what? I'm strong enough to take a L. I'm strong enough to be embarrassed. I'm strong enough to look silly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm over it. Like, it's like, whatever. If it ain't real, it ain't real. You know, I had to get past that, you know, but I have to know for myself, you know, so which is why I went down this rabbit hole. And again, shout out to Joseph Gannascoli for, you know, giving us his time. I did check out a few interviews, and he's absolutely right. Like, people were playing with his time. And I knew that us three brothers wouldn't do that. People was playing with his time.
Did y'all know he slick had beef with the rest of the cast? Did y'all know that?
Yeah.
Nah.
Like him and Bobby. Him and Bobby really don't fuck with each other.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I listened to the whole Talking Sopranos, so yeah, I knew it was, but yeah, I
think he thought we was gonna bring that up.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, we professionals here. So putting it out there, any other soprano actors, you know, the next one I would like to get just kind of building towards something. I would really like to reach out to Jackie Jr., the actor that played Jackie Jr.
That's your guy? That guy?
Well, I'm trying to build. I'm trying to build towards you. Not just jump.
Let me ask you, both of y'all.
If you get him, I'm gonna ask him probably about Paper Soldiers.
Okay.
Because he was in Paper Soldiers.
I ain't know.
Yeah.
Let me ask y'all this.
Rappaport, yeah.
If you could have someone else, and I ain't talking about building up, I'm talking about your ideal person, who would it be?
Right now?
Yeah. Probably Christopher. Not Christopher. Michael Imperioli.
Yeah, I'll go. Since you picked him, I'll say Johnny V.
Who's that? Johnny V.
Gotta play
Artie Bucco.
Oh.
That's
I would go with Seal or Edie Falco.
Oh,
Edie Falco would be a great
Edie Falco. That would be
that would be
a great one.
We're putting it out there. Look, hey, this now it didn't seem like it was realistic, fellas. It's realistic now. I know we're concluding this episode and we're concluding you know, obviously running through the series. But the reality is this is now going to be a staple for what we just did. This will be a staple where at some point somebody may want to reach out to us and say, hey, I want to do y'all show because I want to see what y'all come up with. And y'all brand is so respectable because of how y'all dealt with Joseph Gannascoli. We know y'all going to do it right. You know what I mean? And this is what I want us to be. It's like, yo, they can tap into any bag. We're silly all the time. However, you just seen what we were able to get across, you know? So this brand that we've built, I'm very protective of.
Hey, as the great Nipsey Hussle, man, once said, man, I spoke some things into the universe and they appeared. So anything's possible, man.
Yeah. Well, that's all on that note, man. Again, we can't say it enough. Thank you, Joseph, for your time, and thank y'all listeners, man, for tuning in. Until the next episode, we'll be back in the series. But yeah, you got something to say?
I was just gonna say it might be. I know we probably haven't talked about it.
Oh yeah,
it's a holiday, so
the
finale for 6A probably won't come for another week or two.
Yeah,
given that it's a holiday, so just FYI, I'm not sure when we're gonna drop it, but it'll be in the next couple of weeks or so.
To logistically speak, the 23rd will be this episode, right? Mm-hmm. This is the 23rd. This is dropping. The 30th, there probably won't be an episode.
Yeah, they're following.
Yeah, probably not.
So then the next episode that the fans will probably get will be on
the 6th. I'm sure we'll find some time to record that episode to have it released by the 6th. I know it's New Year's and stuff.
I was gonna say that's New Year's Day, that Wednesday.
We'll figure it out. We'll let y'all know.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. But
we'll let y'all know. Hopefully this holds you over.
Yeah, well, Merry Christmas. Here's your gift.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
So thank y'all for tuning in, and remember, don't forget about it.